I came home to find two men sitting at my kitchen table. One of them was my live-in sweetie. The other was one of our best friends. One of them was a were-leopard. The other was a werewolf. Both of them were strippers. At least once a month, they took off more than just their clothes on stage. They changed shape on stage in front of a live audience. Those nights, the club was standing room only. I mean, you can go to other clubs to see men take their clothes off, but their entire skin and body? Well, that was unique. Nathaniel came to greet me with a kiss and a hug. I let my hands play in the long, thick auburn hair that trailed down his broad shoulders, the curve of his waist, the tightness of his ass, and the long, muscular legs. He was 5'7" now, an inch taller than when I'd met him. In my 3-inch heels, I was still an inch shorter than him. At 21, he was finally growing into the promise of those shoulders. His face was less soft than it had been, and more masculine. He would always be beautiful rather than handsome, but the bone structure had changed minutely, so he just suddenly looked his age, instead of like jailbait. He blinked down at me with the soft lilac of his eyes. On his driver's license, it said his eyes were blue because they wouldn't let him put lavender or purple. His eyes were different shades of color depending on his mood or what he wore, but blue was never the color of his eyes. His hands slid underneath the jacket of my suit and a little lower to trace the top of my skirt. His hands hesitated a little at the Browning BDM in its shoulder holster. Guns do get in the way of cuddling. I wrapped my arms around the bareness of his upper body, breathed in the scent of his skin. He was wearing what he usually wore in his off time in the summer, little bitty jogging shorts. Most of the were-animals would go around nude if you let them. I wasn't quite comfy with that, so he wore the shorts to save my delicate sensibilities. There were some who thought I didn't have any of those left, but they would be wrong. And they would be jealous. Holding him, breathing in the warm and sweet vanilla of his skin, I understood the jealousy. Though, frankly, not all of it was about sex or even having found love at last. It was about power, and them wanting it, and me and mine having it. It was about me being the human servant of Jean Claude, the master vampire of St. Louis. It was about body count, and me having the highest kill count among the vampire executioners in the good old US of A. I would give a less favored body part to have a woman greet me at the end of the day like that, Jason's voice said. I had to peer around Nathaniel's body to see Jason. He was still at the kitchen table nursing a coffee mug. It even smelled like coffee, but he huddled over it as if it were something harder and more intoxicating. Jason was 2 years older than Nathaniel, which made him 23 now. Strangely, I'd met them both when they were 19. Jason was my height, give or take a half-inch or so. His hair was that shade of yellow blonde that movie stars are fond of, but his was real and didn't have to come from a good salon. His hair was cut businessman short. I liked long hair, but I had to admit that Jason's face looked cleaner, better, more handsome even, without the hair to distract. He was wearing a blue t-shirt that made his eyes even bluer than they were. The color not of spring, but of summer skies, before the heat has gotten too hot, but you know it's not May anymore. The clothes hid what I knew, that he looked even better out of them. It wasn't for lack of cuteness and desirability that Jason wasn't my sweetie. He was my friend, and I was his.